Hey everyone, and welcome to the 92nd episode of Let's Be Real, not 93rd, as James stated. We are on the road to the final potty and the road to 100. We are slowly but surely going to get there. I'm Nain, your host for this episode, and I'm obviously joined here by James and Kyan. And on today's episode, we'll be covering the Fantastic Four trailer, Jurassic World Rebirth trailer, streaming services wanting to work with influencers, and just today, the Critic Choice Awards was happening, so we'll cover those as well. Let's get straight into it, eh?
Let's do it.
Fantastic Four, Marvel's next film, comes out in July.
Marvel's next film is Captain America, buddy.
Oh,
For
yeah.
Valentine's Day, we're all seeing it together.
How romantic.
Yeah.
To be honest, I completely forgot that existed. Next exciting film then, coming from Marvel, drops on July. So we've all seen the trailer released earlier in the week. What did we all think?
I'm very mixed on it, and it kind of confirms my my doubts in this cast because now that usually you have the doubts about cast, and then you kind of see the trailer and you're like, oh, actually, I like the angle they're going with. They feel real suited to the role, but I'm still just not getting any kind of confirmation that they've chosen the best people for the role here. And I think the people that they've chosen are all good on their own and different things, but just not for these characters. And, I still hope that we get to the movie and I get to watch it. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh, actually, they kind of worked for what they were doing. But yeah, I don't have any sense of Pedro Pascal. He doesn't convince me as being a kind of Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. Vanessa Kirby felt really off to me, and Joseph Quinn doesn't look the part. I don't get that kind of flamboyant, egotistical womanizer. Glenn Powell, I think, is by far and away the
100%.
best choice for it, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, if you can't get invested into the cast and it helps you not be able to get invested in the characters, which is ultimately going to be the thing that makes you enjoy these kind of movies. But from a visual standpoint, I really liked a lot of things of what I saw here. I kind of liked the aesthetics, how it plays into the larger Marvel universe. We'll have to see. But I really liked what they were going for here. Having Galactus there for the first time that we've seen in a film and not be a cloud.
Properly.
Yeah. I really like that. I'm really intrigued to see how they can pull that off. But I think there's potential here. I loved what we saw from the, or not saw, but heard from the score. It sounds like they got something really good there. So it doesn't really make me more excited, but it doesn't make me less excited either. It's kind of exactly where I had expected this film to be at.
Yeah, I mean, I had maybe expected slightly better than what we saw. I'm a little bit underwhelmed from what we saw, but I'm kind of in line with you a bit. Like, I didn't have huge expectations for this.
Yeah.
Never did. But for me, it's the same as you. It really comes down to, do they nail the cast, right? Do they nail each individual character? Does each individual actor play that character well?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Marvel, or the MCU for that matter, has been known for quite a while, is that they tend to nail the casting of each individual one. And then I'm feeling misalignment here. It's not feeling right. And it's hard to judge based on a trailer.
Yeah.
But I think you're spot on about Vanessa Kirby. I think a lot of these actors are great in their own right, but Vanessa Kirby and Joseph Quinn is not feeling like that. He doesn't have that kind of bright charisma that I would expect. And Pedro Pascal, we doubted him in the past, but it is going to be difficult to play that sort of like intellectual stoic, which we did see, like, at least in some pieces from John Krasinski. He did at least feel like Mr. Fantastic in the brief time that you saw him, just out of his like very logical sort of way of performing that role.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very, very reluctant. I mean, the only thing that draws me in are those aesthetics, because it is by the guy who did episodes of WandaVision, so it makes it making a lot of sense why it looks the way it does.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the best thing they can do is tie this into something WandaVision related. That's the only thing that really makes sense to me. If this is maybe an alternate reality that Wanda has made, or
That'd be
I don't know. They need to do something about they need to repair a lot of what they've done with the previous Marvel films, and they need a way to bridge things.
Yeah, because those Avengers movies are coming up very quickly. These three, Captain America, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four, and then it's Avengers Doomsday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they gotta...
It's just such a weird lineup of movies
So strange.
to then go to this Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah, so Fantastic Four essentially has to be the bridge to that Avengers movie.
It does. It needs to, at least that's what I feel. I feel it needs to be a bridge and explain a bunch of things that are missing
Yeah.
in the storyline. And I think that a big hole is this one division hole / multiverse of madness hole that they've left.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with your guys' points in regards to this. There's just something off about it, and it's always been off since the casting came out. I think, I hope I pronounced his name right, Ebon Moss-Bachrach.
Bachrach? Yeah.
Bachrach, yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
I think he's going to be like a standout in this film. I mean, he was pretty enjoyable in the trailer, so I think he'll probably easily be like the show stealer and something like that. And like, I'm glad that they got Galactus right in terms of, the way he looks, not a cloud. And I like the way, like, because James, you and I had like a private discussion in regards to how are they going to capture this like being who's like bigger and eats planets, and like him just standing like over New York City is a great way to like capture that. And then like as his human form doing quite bunny things here, and then like when the Fantastic Four really pisses him off, then he'll probably go to that like larger force. Still a waste in like the first Fantastic Four film. It's definitely like should be set up in a Fantastic Four to lead into an Avengers film, because Galactus is like a Avengers level threat, but like.
And 100% I agree with that, because if Doomsday is the one after this and you got Doctor Doom in it, it makes sense for Doctor Doom to be the villain of this movie and show that he's more powerful than that group, and so it needs to be a bigger Avengers collective effort as it leads into the Avengers movie. But if this is the movie that leads into Doomsday, Doctor Doom, Robert Downey Jr., I think 100% he's in this.
I think
Oh,
that if
he's definitely in the post-credit scene for sure, at least.
Oh, 100%.
If not the main movie, then post-credit.
Yeah, I think that at least if if Galactus is in this, he needs to be in this in the same capacity that Thanos was in the previous Avengers films without really being in the Avengers films. He was there for a moment, a blink, you saw him.
Yeah.
He did something briefly. He appeared, he disappeared.
Yeah.
And it's a build-up to that. He can't be the main threat in this. If he's the main threat in this, you're blowing a load all at once.
Yeah.
And it's wasted, because he's top 2 Marvel villain, top 3.
Yeah.
You probably got Magneto, you've got Thanos, you've got Galactus. There's maybe one other there. He's at least in the top 5 of all Marvel villains.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, easily.
Yeah, I mean, they at the very least they can't defeat him. Like if they kill him in this movie, I will be so mad, because they've just wasted one of the most iconic villains.
And then that's like two, like, Kang getting beaten by Wasp, and then like the Fantastic Four beating Galactus, like first time up. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, Marvel?
No, they. Yeah.
But this is why they need to bridge things, because the right now is that they're currently they're hurtling towards Doomsday, and they want to get there as fast as possible, and that's clear, because they know that that's where they might recapture the audience.
Yeah.
Because of getting Robert Downey Jr. back in this whole cast. And they may in this process they may disregard all of the important work it requires to make sure their universe is cohesive. And if it's not cohesive, the audience won't buy into it. And if the audience doesn't buy into it, it won't have that same impact.
Yeah, well, I haven't felt the MCU's been really cohesive for a long time. Like, I just don't know how everything's connecting. And before, it all felt really, really put together. But now it's just kind of like all these different threads. And so, yeah, Fantastic Four is the one to bring them together, because Captain America and Thunderbolts, they're so like Earth related and grounded in their own right, which I guess is fine. But F4 is kind of like, or Fantastic Four is like the most kind of quirky one where they can actually do these things that bring those large elements of the MCU and connect them all together. But
Yeah.
It's set in the 60s, though, so they'll need to somehow get into...
unless they are in a different reality, and
I feel like they're going to have to be in a different reality, just based on the aesthetics, based on the sort of like, I don't know, the overall feel. It's very clearly alternate universe-y.
yeah, no, it really is. But I mean, I think it's going to be interesting. I hope it's just kind of a nothing thing. Like Deadpool and Wolverine, like as funny and as enjoyable as that movie is, it's not. I thought it would do a lot for the multiverse and how it kind of brings it together with the MCU storylines, but it did nothing. No. If Fantastic Four went the same way, it's just like, oh, my hype for Doomsday will be lessened.
It'll be like as if Marvel can't commit to these like multiverse films.
Yeah.
They keep dropping the ball.
They just can't be decisive on how they're trying to decide how this multiverse is governed and how it's going to conclude.
Yeah,
they can't figure out. They can't figure out whether to do it in Loki or do it in something like Doctor Strange or do it in something like Deadpool and Wolverine with this weird like reality warp machine or something to do with Wanda. Or they can't make a decision, and this is the ultimate problem: is that like they've got 10 different options here, and they're trialing all these different things, and they're not committing to anything. It's not cohesive.
Yeah, and I just feel like there's not really enough rules around kind of what this multiverse is. Is it different timelines? Is it different realities? And then like they introduce like random new things like anchor being. Like if a person dies in the universe, that universe slowly dies over time. Yeah. It's just like, why are you introducing that? Like that's just. And it just doesn't make sense.
It was almost like their own interpretation of like a canon event or something.
Yeah.
Where it was like they were trying to like integrate that into it, or like they thought it was a really cool concept and they tried to put it in. It's like, it's too much.
Yeah,
it's too much.
Just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, that's really all it needs. But
Marvel is getting way too ambitious, so we'll see where it leads. Come July, another film coming out in July that's not Superman as well is Jurassic World Rebirth. So we got the trailer for that, stars Scarlett Johansson, and it has dinosaurs in it, and a hybrid dinosaur, of course. So
always.
We saw the trailer for this. What are your guys' thoughts?
I don't like the look of it at all.
Harsh.
Yeah, no, I feel that kind of almost every element of it feels like I've seen it before. This is not exactly surprising to anyone, given the consistency so far of the Jurassic World movies, and they've just gotten progressively worse. I'm not saying that this will be bad, but I don't think it's going to be returned to any sort of form, whatever that even means for Jurassic Park, or whether it can happen. I think it can happen, but I think that franchise in particular is under the same kind of governance or set of rules as something like the Transformers movies were, where it's been franchised to a degree where no one can really do anything interesting with it.
Yeah.
Universal won't allow anyone to do anything interesting with it. And the only thing you can do to make it interesting is like try and ground it more.
Yeah.
And that's not the direction they're going in. They're going more and more fantastical. These films, they don't feel like sci-fi to me anymore. They don't feel like what could happen. To me, it feels like a fantasy movie.
Yeah.
Like they're straight up fantasy movies to me. Like this one to me looks like an action adventure.
Yeah.
In the jungle, in the ancient ruins, and it just feels like they've gone to a magical world, which is not the vibe I like.
Yeah. I mean, you stole those words like right out of my mouth. I resonate completely with what you're saying. And it is becoming more franchise than before. I tell you, this movie feels like Kong Skull Island. I get the exact same vibes to it. Yeah,
It's a perfect comparison.
Yeah, and it's just like they are going in the direction of these like Godzilla and King Kong kind of movies, and it doesn't work for Jurassic World, because I think what works so well with Jurassic World is the kind of I don't know. There's just something that's really grounded about it that
You have
does
to ground it
feel
in the
real.
humans. You have to ground it in the humans for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just they're not going to do that here. And I could like nothing. When I watched the trailer, I just didn't feel anything. I was like, oh, okay, like, yeah, sure. Like, and just I carried on with my day. Like, it's not one where I'm like, oh wow, okay, like that could be cool. And like Gareth Edwards is the director. He's the kind of a big part of why I have been optimistic about this movie. But I don't really see any his kind of magic there at all. I do think it does look like something that could be fun to watch in an IMAX screen. But beyond that, there's nothing that really like draws me to this movie. There needs to be like. There doesn't need to be big gaps between kind of Jurassic Park movies, but there needs to be a reason for them to be around. Just so they can make $1 billion and like disappear from people's minds is not a reason to just make these movies. So, yeah. Nan, you're the big Jurassic Park guy. Honest thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with your statement in regards to how you woke up, watched it, and forgot about it. At the same thing, there was nothing about this trailer that hooked you, and at least with Jurassic World or something, there was some sort of shot in there that, just stuck with you.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. It seems like as if it's losing its magic off the Jurassic Park franchise. And I think it's the fact that they are, just consistently adamant on these hybrid dinosaurs. There's no need for it. Like you have like thousands of other dinosaurs which are more scarier. Like just fucking make one of those like the big bad and shit like that, and make them like chase around humans. So it's a little bit disappointing that they did go in that route. Apparently, this hybrid has been inspired by a Rancor, Xenomorph, and a T-Rex.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
It's just so.
So it's just like, why are you doing this? You have like so many other carnivore dinosaurs out there that you could just easily like be more intimidating and like grasp that horror element, and like you guys said, just ground it in the humans and what they have to do, but like have those like really suspenseful scenes where like it's around and like the humans have to like try and avoid it or stop being detected or run away from it, like the first Jurassic Park.
It's interesting you say that though, because they use all these like comparisons to these other monsters, like for example a xenomorph, and what makes a xenomorph scary is not necessarily that a xenomorph, like the shape of it is particularly terrifying. I mean, it's a pretty cool design, but it's not particularly terrifying. But what makes it scary is the isolation the character is in. The character is in a helpless situation.
Yeah.
They're not in this swinging on vines, jumping explosions, jumping in cars sort of situation and like speeding away. They're in a confined area. They need to get out, and there is something obstructing their path, and they don't know where this monster is within that situation. And that's like, you can actually like literally split like every dinosaur scene in Jurassic Park into chunks, and it follows that exact flow. A person is trying to get from this place to this place, and there's a dinosaur in between them, and they're trying to navigate ways to get to that. It's like the kitchen scene, the T-Rex, when she's running through to turn the power on. All of those scenes, they're all the same, but they follow the same fundamentals. And I don't see Gareth Edwards being able to achieve that. One, I'm not convinced by him producing characters that are able to make you feel that.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about the the characters in the creator. I don't really remember anything about the characters in the original Godzilla. I don't really remember all of his films. That they follow that trend of the characters are super forgettable, but the scale is really impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
And with Jurassic Park, you can't sell one out and have the other.
I think a lot of the I guess anticipation on Nan and I's side was the fact that the original writer of Jurassic Park is writing this one too, and so you think he'd bring some of that kind of element that you just discussed with Jurassic Park alongside Gareth Edwards' ability to capture scale really well. It's kind of a perfect marriage for these kind of movies, but this trailer just doesn't give any indication of that.
I did hear that there's going to be a sequence that was supposed to be in the original film that's also in the novels, going to be part of this film or somewhat adapted.
What does that mean?
So there was so in the novels there's like this passage, or I don't know what you call a scene in the book, but this thing, and it was supposed to be in the Jurassic Park thing, but they didn't have enough time, so they just cut it out. But it's going to be included in this one. It's pretty much like in the novel, it's Dr. Grant. He is with the kids, and they're on a lagoon on like a little wooden boat thing, and there's like a T-Rex sleeping, and they have to like try get across the lagoon without waking up the T-Rex, and the T-Rex wakes up and it like sees him and it like goes into the water,
Yeah.
and like they think the T-Rex is swimming, but it's not. Like his nose is like sticking just outside of the water so it can breathe, and it's like walking to like try get them, and like they're all panicking on this like boat trying to like get across the lagoon.
See, that's really cool. That's a really like cool idea. But I think that almost every single scene in the original Jurassic Park is great because it was done by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with the right. Like Spielberg could turn any piece of crap material into something that like feels really good on screen.
Yeah. So I'm more interested to see how that would come across in this, and like if it is going to be as terrifying and suspenseful, or if it's
Yeah.
just going to be like a cheap cop out sort of thing.
There are good scenes in the Jurassic World movies. Like there are good sequences in them. Like I'm going to
Yeah.
give it credit where it's due. Like even the last movie, as bad as it is, that sequence with Bryce Dallas Howard submerged underwater, and there's that long clawed one.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
great scene.
Yeah.
And as much as we meme it, like even in the second one where there's that, I don't know, Indoraptor or something it's called.
That's exactly what it's called.
Yeah, okay. I was about to say Indominus Rex, an Indoraptor, yeah.
That's the first one, Dominus, yeah.
Yeah. Even that one, how it plays dead. I mean, I think that was kind of like a cool concept. Like, just kind of they've got cool ideas in there, and like they sort of execute them, but then the rest of the movie that surrounds it is just this like schlocky bore fest
Yeah.
of like very generic action and like reused sequences that you've seen before with the flares and the
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the result of this franchise becoming more franchised. Because, when this news came out, like, at the back end of 2023, and me and Nan were like, how the hell are they going to do this in time? They got a script to write, they got to shoot it, and they got to do post-production all in this amount of time. I think this is just Universal being like, okay, they all made $1 billion, let's continue using this cash cow, and we'll just do it like that. And I think they are going to suffer the consequences, because we saw the Jurassic World franchise go down and down and down. This is going to be another downturn at the box office, especially with so much competition around it as well. So,
yeah, we'll see a downturn on it.
yep.
Okay, I think it's either, I don't know if it's in between Superman and Fantastic Four, if it's before Superman, but it's definitely in July.
Yeah. I think Superman's at the front, like pack.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. But those three in July.
People will show up for Jurassic World, but in those numbers, like the originals, no.
Yeah, I reckon 800 million. I think it'll get.
I'm just going to say $1 billion because the other one's clawed its way to $1 billion. And nothing that can be as bad as Dominion.
It's like $1,000 over $1 billion or something ridiculous like that.
Still got over
man.
it. Still got there.
Yeah, but you don't have the OG cast in this one.
That's true. Then that was a big selling point.
Yeah, so 800 million would be my prediction.
All right, moving on. We have streaming services wanting to work with influencers. So this is a new thing. So we all know Mr. Beast's little show called Beast Games. So after that's released, streaming services are interested in that. The show had 50 million views in its first 25 days, and the show cost $100 million. I think it's a way that they are going to try revolutionize streaming, similar to like live sport, to just go into this sort of reality, sort of TV, sort of era thing. I think that's the next step for streaming services. So what are your thoughts on this, influencers, or not quite influencers, but like them trying to branch out from just, TV show, movie, into something like...
I mean, I think it's good in the sense of having diverse content for different audiences. It makes the streaming platform, far more appealing to different demographics of people. So while I would never watch something like Beast Games, and nor do I care about it, and someone who has an Amazon Prime subscription, seeing that pop up on the front screen every single time I open the app is very annoying. But I would never watch it. But it's good for bringing in people. So from a business perspective, this makes complete sense. And I'm honestly shocked at 50 million views, despite the popularity of Mr. Beast, because he has his own content coming out, which has so much like viewership on YouTube and other kind of platforms. But Yeah, getting it on Amazon Prime because it just flows through the one streaming service here is surprising. So now that they've had one success, everyone jumps on the bandwagon. This has been the entire narrative with streaming services. One success happens with one, then they all do it, and they keep doing it, and then they cannibalize the entire market to the point where it's it's no longer about the quality of the work or the output, but it's more about the quantity. And it just cannibalizes the entire thing. We've seen the quality of content just go down dramatically because the uptick in the quantity of content has gone up. And so it's I'm saying bad stuff about it, but it makes sense from a business perspective for other streaming services to do this. But keep the quality there. And I'm sure as someone, I'm sure Mr. Beast and the kind of Beast Games show, I think he would have been quite like a bit of a perfectionist and making it something that was kind of gripping and fitted for the platform. So, in a way that other influencers wouldn't. And so if they bring in all these other influencers that just kind of want the money, the fucking cash, we're going to see them not be so good, these kind of reality influencer kind of shows.
Yeah, I mean, is this just Amazon doing it, or is it Netflix? Are they looking into this?
All of them.
They all are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. I mean, I think there's 100% a market for it, like you're saying. I think that there's a market for like this very long form style of social. I mean, I don't know if necessarily influencer is the right word, but because essentially you become a showrunner when you do that. You're a showrunner, is what you are.
Yeah.
You get a lot of those like YouTube channels with like people who are doing like long form projects, or they're like, doing wilderness sort of like journeys or something, 3-day journey in the outback or something.
Yeah.
And I could imagine those being like segmented into episodes and with a higher budget with like a crew.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a market for it, and I think that the reason it's probably happening now is because we're seeing this big shift from the old legacy style of television and media to the newer form of it.
Right.
Like you even see it in politics with like influencers now showing up at like political rallies and like being all interjected into that. It's a new world. Let's put it that way. It's a new world.
Yeah.
And there are now new faces of media. So it makes sense why it's happening.
Yeah. Do you think influencers, like when I say influencers, we know what I mean, kind of social media stars, do you think they'll overtake celebrities in terms of like...
I think so.
Because if
They probably already have.
Let's say Mr. Beast wants to look for a movie and to star in a movie, be the lead. I could imagine a studio picking him over some, maybe not A-lister, but close to it.
I think
just
so.
for the appeal and for the extra viewership.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why not.
So could there be a reality in the future where kind of the influencers are the celebrities now?
Yeah, I think it's already been done with Logan Paul. Like he became super successful and then went into like sports and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely happening, not as fast as we think, but
the influencers can easily get into other industries.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, for example, like a lot of the current people within the music industry, or at least all the it people now, or upcoming, are all like, they were TikTok famous.
Yeah.
And then they became like signed singers or whatever. Like they started off within the influencer field.
Yeah.
And then they moved into the professional field.
I think they are kind of paired perfectly, though. I think in terms of the next generation of stars, they are going to be coming up to that kind of social media era where they have to have a following first, and then they kind of get these roles. So,
part of their CV.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially.
Cool. Now we'll get on to some awards, shall we? The Critic Choice Awards has just dropped. Finished probably about, 40-ish minutes ago. There were some big surprises in there for sure. But we'll just cover the main ones that would usually cover an award season. First one will be editing. The only reason why this is in here is because of the movie that won. So in editing, the nominees were Anora, Challengers, Conclave, The Brutalist, Doom Part 2, and September 5. And the winner was Challengers. And that's funny because it didn't get nominated for any Oscar as well. And the funny thing about Challenges also is that for Critics' Choice Awards, it also won Best Score. So the Academy dropped the ball on that one. So what are your thoughts on this? On this one?
Well, I mean, like a category like this just shows the like massive discrepancy between the Academy and kind of everything else in award season this year. I haven't seen such a bizarre, like unpredictable set of movies kind of getting that recognition. But in terms of this category, I'm very happy. I love Challenges, and I did think the editing was great throughout it. A surprise win for sure, but absolutely deserving of it. In terms of what I would prefer, I would go something like September 5 or Anora. I thought Anora was just really well paced. It managed to switch paces throughout it and become a real chaotic, quite high intensity event for that last hour. And I think it did it in a really good way. September 5 is very tight, and that movie it captures the tension and the intensity of it from the beginning and doesn't let go. So that one also deserved it too. But I mean, I'm happy Challenges is getting some kind of recognition in this award season.
Yeah, 100%. What is it? Atticus Ross and
No, that's for score.
oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
But what I mean is that like that's recognition. It
right,
it deserves to be getting recognition.
I mean, it deserves score. Like
Yeah.
at least a nomination, man. Oh, they dropped the ball so hard. The Academy. The fact that Critics' Choice Awards have better winners and better nominations than the Academy. Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, it puts into question to me sort of the conditions of which they're selecting these nominees. Like I feel like there needs to be some more transparency on how these nominees are selected to begin with. So it's because it kind of I've seen instances before where it's like this. How was this not like Toni Collette for Hereditary? Like not even nominated.
Yeah.
Not only was she not nominated, she should have won that year. It's like it's one of these things where it's like, who's making these decisions?
Yeah, I wonder what the ballot's like when like an Academy member has to put a nomination. Is it like an empty piece of paper where they just write the nominations, or
I feel it'd be something like how you vote, or have all the nominees in, just tick. And you
Yeah,
put in a
but
box.
like-
That's what I imagine.
and if you're choosing like best supporting actress, do you have every supporting actress in every movie for the entire year, or do you just have the ones that are kind of getting in that recognition zone? Like, would Zoe Saldana be at the top of the list versus some random one in some random foreign movie way down at the bottom? Like, no one's going to look through all of that, or some people aren't. So it's a very interesting thought there. But yeah, I honestly think the Academy, in terms of the nominations here, reputation has been damaged for them.
I think so as well.
All right, adapted screenplay. So the nominees for this one was Amelia Perez, Wicked, Sing Sing, Nickel Boys, Conclave, and Doom Part 2. And the winner went to Conclave.
Just glad I didn't go with Amelia Perez, honestly.
Yeah, me
Like I told you guys that there's no movie I can root for this year, but there is a movie I can root against this year, and that's Amelia Perez, because that movie is fucking tragic. And
the
apparently one of the cast is a pretty bad person as well, so that's funny. But Conclave, I think it's deserving of it. Granted, I haven't seen Sing Sing or Nickel Boys, but Conclave I thought had a really sharp screenplay. I thought it was written very well, offers really kind of compelling arguments, and it just has like so much to say. And I think the writing's just brilliant throughout it. I think Conclave is going to carry this momentum. I think it's going for the Oscar win for adapted screenplay.
Yeah, and the dialogue was fantastic in it as well, especially like in the conversation, like some of the one-on-one conversations as well.
Yeah,
Like you just really feel the tension and like the tornness of what to do and stuff like that. So
yeah, it gives you so much to think about through like every line.
it does.
Yeah.
All right, original screenplay. So we have Anora, September 5, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, The Substance, and Challenges. And the winner was The Substance.
This one's interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I feel like maybe it may have won just due to its uniqueness out of them. Like it, tackling something unique and saying it in an interesting and different way.
Yeah, I mean, I like the ideas in it, but it doesn't feel like a screenplay-driven movie where it's deserving of the win.
I don't know. I mean, because it's not dialogue driven.
Yeah.
So that's why it probably feels that way. But of course, just because something isn't dialogue driven doesn't mean there isn't a screenplay.
Yeah.
It's like the screenplay is like, it's all there. It's just very minimal dialogue. And it's not necessary that a movie must have lots of dialogue in order to be a good screenplay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably one due to its messaging more than anything. I think that's probably why it's getting so much
messaging
traction.
is strong in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Anora though? Because I think Anora is the front runner to win the Oscar for this category. What are your thoughts on the Anora screenplay in terms of its contention?
For some reason, I get the impression that Nonora has a greater chance winning director and best picture than it does for anything written. And I really can't articulate why that is, but I think it probably has something more to do with Anora's execution as a whole,
Right.
versus that it was like the script was so damn good that it was pulling it along. I don't think that was the case. I don't think the script was so good that it was pulling it along. I think it was just a well-executed whole,
Yeah.
which is why I feel director and best picture is more of a push for it than the screenplay.
Interesting. I think Anora should win. A Real Pain is up there as well. I think that's really that's written really well, and I think it is kind of probably the best aspect of that movie. You know, Kieran Culkin's performance is really, really fantastic, but it does so much with its screenplay, and it's such a dialogue-driven movie, but it's just very sharply written. And Nora, I think, is just really well done as well. But yeah, I mean, The Substance winning, I don't hope it wins at the Oscars because it's just not a screenplay-driven movie.
Yeah, I prefer. Well, I've only seen Anora and Challenges out of these two, but I prefer Anora over this. I feel I had a better screenplay than Substance if we're comparing those two, for sure. All right, supporting actress. I can see a few names I'm going to stumble over, so I hope I get them right. So the nominees were Danielle Deadwyler for The Piano Lesson. Onjuanu, Alice Taylor for Nickel Boys. Does anyone know how to say that? No. Cool. Ariana Grande for Wicked, Margaret Qualley for The Substance, Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, and Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez, and Zoe Saldana won. What do we think of that?
Unsurprising.
Yeah, I mean, it is unsurprising. I mean, the surprising part is the nominations themselves. Like, I mean, Margaret Qualley and those two ones for The Piano Lesson, Nickel Boys, they're not even nominated. The other nominated ones are Felicity Jones in The Brutalist, and then you also have Monica Barbero in A Complete Unknown, nominated for the Oscar. But for this one, Zoe Saldana, she's been cleaning up this category entirely, and we'll see if the other things happening around Emilia Perez has any kind of effect, which it hasn't so far, but the voting stopped for that kind of, for like this, for instance, before that stuff kind of came out. So it can still have an impact on her winning. We're going to have to see. And in all honesty, I mean, I hate Emilia Perez, like with almost every bone in my body, but she might be the most deserving one here. I mean, Isabella Rossellini in Conclave, she's hardly in it for, I didn't even consider her. And then when I re-looked at the nomination, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like,
She's literally in there for 5 minutes.
yeah, and it's not even like a powerful scene or anything. But yeah, Zoe Saldana, I think she is probably the best aspect of Emilia Perez. And honestly, she should have been lead because the film is more around her than the other characters. But yeah, a really weak year for supporting actress, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. Supporting actor, we have Yura Borisov for Nora, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Clarence McLean for Sing Sing, Edward Norton for A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce for The Brutalist, and Denzel Washington for Gladiator 2. And the winner is Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain.
Yeah, very deserved. Very much like Zoe Saldana here. That the fact he's just going to run away with this one. He's winning everything so far, and it's really kind of the only thing that A Real Pain is getting recognition for. But he's absolutely deserving of it. I think he's really, really good. he plays a real like really complex character that has like very charismatic and charming moments, and then can just switch to being close to a mental breakdown. And it's just like it can be hard to watch, but he plays it so well. And then I haven't seen anything else except for Borisov, and he kind of just he wasn't really enough of a factor in the movie for me to like see him as a best supporting actor material. Yeah. You've seen Honora, like what do you think about him being nominated?
I think it's weird. I mean, I think it's weird to like that in the supporting actor category, you can have someone who is a major part of the film, and then someone who's in the film for like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
and like you compare, say, someone like Yura Borisov. He's not a minor character by any means, but he's really not. He doesn't occupy that much screen time. And you compare that to, say, what was it called again? May December. What's his name?
what was his name?
I know who you're talking about, but I don't know.
Yeah,
the guy in that.
Yeah, the guy in May December. Here is his
He
name.
was in
It's Charles Melton.
Yeah, Charles Manson. Yeah,
He occupies an extraordinary amount of screen time in that movie, and even calling him a supporting actor is like, wow, he felt like a leading actor in it to some extent. It's almost unfair, It's almost unfair for one actor to occupy so much screen time. But he's an example of someone who's in it sort of like an average amount of time. His impact is there, but it's not so great that it's like
he's just in the background, silent.
It's kind of silent in the background. I mean, the one that's kind of weird to me is Denzel Washington for Gladiator 2. I mean, he was probably the best part of it, in fairness, like in terms of a performance. But he was just like Denzel Washington with an American accent, like throughout the whole thing. I mean, typical Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
And it was just because it was Denzel Washington, really.
Yeah.
So I thought it was very weird how he popped up here, but I suppose it is Denzel Washington after all.
Yeah, because movies can just come in and they can campaign their actors or actresses to best supporting or best leading. Do you think there should be like more like a criteria around supporting and lead? Because think about something. I mean, a Real Pain. It's about these two cousins that go on a trip, and Jesse Eisenberg's the other cousin, but they have equal screen time, except he's going for supporting. And when it's like May December, when you have Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore, is it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, like should they both be leading in technicality? But they campaigned one for the other, and then so it gives them a better chance to get nominations.
I guess it should go towards screen time. Whoever has the most screen time technically gets the big one, and the other one will get supporting.
I think that's really the only fair way to go about it.
But I mean, I'm saying in that sense, if they, let's say they have over, an hour screen time, both of them, then they should both be in lead or in contention for lead. Like supporting should be those like actual supporting characters.
Yeah.
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 I guess it's just a way to try to get both of them nominations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it is vague.
It is vague.
Yeah. Well, we should hit up the Oscars and be like, can you set out your criteria?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, we can improve I actually think we could improve the Oscars if we had full autonomy to control them.
100%.
I'm not even joking. That's the sad part about it.
All right. So, Best Actress, we have Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon for Amelia Perez, Marianne Jean Baptiste for Hard Truths, Angelina Jolie for Maria, Mikey Madison for Honora, and Demi Moore for The Substance, and the winner went to Demi Moore.
Expected, not a surprise. I think Demi Moore is getting very close to having a lock for The Substance, which is a shame for Mikey Madison. But, I mean, I look at the nominations this year, and I've seen all of them except for Fernanda Torres and I'm Still Here, which we have no access to even watch in New Zealand, unfortunately. I think it comes out after the Oscars, unfortunately.
Classic.
Yeah. And then I look at it because, but beyond the two that I just mentioned, Cynthia Erivo for Wicked and Carla Sofia Gascon, like they're fine in their roles, but they're nothing special. It's really Mikey Madison and Demi Moore that do that, like move it for me. And I think Demi Moore is a perfectly fine choice to get Best Actress, and I don't think it's in the category of it's a legacy reward. Thanks for your contribution to the industry. Here's your Oscar. Enjoy the rest of your career, kind of thing. Like we've seen happen beforehand. I think she's completely worthy to win for the substance, although my pick would be Mikey Madison.
Yeah, I'm in two ways about it. Like, in some sense, I think that I really, really like Mikey Madison's role. However, on another, a little bit of a part of me felt there was some one-noteness to it, the same energy she had from beginning to end, and I couldn't feel the peaks and changes as much as I wanted to. It's only really right at the end where you see it, and it's too brief.
Yeah.
But with Demi Moore, you see a lot more peaks and valleys with her performance in it. So again, like you're saying, I think it makes very much makes sense that she's here and she's winning these awards. I don't think it's a consolation prize, for her being in the industry. I mean, she's hardly been in the industry in the past couple decades.
Yeah.
So I think that it is a deserving win if she does take home the Oscar. It's just she's got some tough competition with Mikey Madison.
Yeah.
For sure. Actor, we have Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Daniel Craig for Queer, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, and Hugh Grant for Heretic. And the winner, was Adrian Brody.
Oh, Hugh Grant.
Yeah. Why did he get we saw that together? What do you think it's an awards worthy performance? What he did?
No.
Oh, that's surprising. Yeah.
No, I thought it was a really fun performance, and I thought it was cool of Hugh Grant to do it, but it was only because it was an interesting performance for him, not because it was an outright standout, fantastically performed, display.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that. I think it was just because it was Hugh Grant.
Yeah.
Anyway, Adrian Brody, The Brutalist. What do you think about this one, James? Because there's some contention there about the AI thing.
Yeah, people are very divided on the fact that he used AI. I mean, the majority of his performance had no use of AI whatsoever. It was just to hit certain notes in the Hungarian accent. People are mad about this because this information came out after the award stuff started to come out, which is a shame because it kind of puts a little bit of an asterisk on his performance and his people's willingness to give him that kind of praise.
Which is crazy to me though, because he's the youngest living person to ever win Best Actor. He's the youngest Best Actor winner of all time.
But I also think the media is to blame for this because you hear the AI buzzword that's going around along with this, and people are like, oh, AI performance, why should he get it? Yeah. But then when you look into it, and it's it's minimally used, and the majority of his performance is authentic. It is hard, and there does need to be a little bit more. There needs to be more guidelines given by the Academy and kind of what should be used and what shouldn't be used, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, they better create those guidelines very soon because half of the movies this year had AI usage in them. I mean, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 had AI usage in it.
In what way?
I think it might have. I don't know what way, but I know that there's a whole list of movies this year that all technically had AI usage in them.
I mean, there's Furiosa there and stuff, but they're more on using tools and software for that. But a performance is a very different. It's uniquely human, and to put a non-human element on top of a performance, I think those issues are something that's of a more serious discussion. As for him winning it himself, I haven't seen the movie. I can't judge yet. And I've only seen Ralph Fiennes and Hugh Grant in this. I haven't seen any of the others. And Daniel Craig and Queer, man, this guy must be good. He got robbed because remember when we first heard about his performance and we're like, oh, okay, yep, he's going to be a massive awards contender. Nah,
nothing after that.
Just gone. I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, it is what it is. But
I do wonder if that subset of character winning for that role has been a bit exhausted from the Academy. Yep, those sorts of roles have been exhausted. You've seen it with the other Bolin girl. You've seen it with a lot of these sort of effeminate characters that win best actor roles.
All right.
And maybe it's just at that point now where people have given so many awards to it, to those sorts of characters, that they're just sort of like, okay, we want something new.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I don't really like know how to judge that based on where this award season's going, because everything's unpredictable, and whether kind of new directions in terms of the Academy's taste is an indication in these nominations. But if these nominations are any indication of the changing taste of the Academy, it's that they're gotten more shit. I mean, Amelia Perez has 13 nominations, so head back to wherever it was before, because the new direction is just awful.
Oh, 100%. All right. Best Director, we have Jakis Oadad for Amelia Perez. I don't even care about pronouncing that name right. Sean Baker for Nora. Edward Berger for Conclave. Brady Corbett for The Brutalist. John M. Chu for Wicked. Coralie Fargett for The Substance. Ramel Ross for The Nickel Boys. And Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2. And the biggest shock, according to social media for this one, is the winner was John M. Chu for Wicked.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising because Wicked's not even nominated for Best Director at the Oscars. So it doesn't really have much relevance to the greater picture being the Academy Awards. But shout out to the Critics' Choice for having Denis Villeneuve on there. I'm very happy about that. And having Edward Berger for Conclave, who didn't get nominated for Best Director either. You've seen Conclave. I think it is a Best Director worthy thing.
Easily.
This in terms of the big picture, he really pulled that whole thing together.
Even over The Substance. That did get wait, was it Substance?
Yeah, she got nominated. But Amelia Perez, director, got nominated as well. So that would be my first candidate to remove in an absolute heartbeat. And I'm yet to see The Brutalist, a complete unknown, to see what kind of director would actually get removed. But I'm not mad about The Substance director getting an Oscar nomination or being in this pedigree of director here.
And what about John M. Chu?
To be nominated for Wicked?
To win for Best Director.
Well, to win for it, it's hard to...
because these were all very, all of these other choices here are very sensible wins. And then kind of out of left field, Wicked, John M. Chu wins for director.
It's just, it's hard to say because he's not nominated in the Oscars.
Correct.
Yeah, and he got snubbed, but I don't think he deserved it, just because I think Wicked plays, it's half of a story.
Yeah.
And I kind of care how you wrap up the story more than how you open the story. And he's just not as strong as the others. He did a very good job. It surprised the hell out of me, but yeah, not with the others here, I don't think. So very surprising that he won. I'm glad that he got some kind of a award before his kind of run ends.
It's probably why he got the award.
Because of what?
Because he's not nominated for the Oscars. It's like, oh yeah, you know what? Here you go, because obviously it's not going to impact.
But also, the Critics' Choice Awards, they're cheating by nominating 8 people. You can't nominate that much people. You have to keep it to the 5.
I didn't even notice that. But yeah, I think probably Sean Baker or Edward Berger could have...
you're an Edward Berger guy, eh?
Possibly could have won it. Yeah.
What about Denis Villeneuve?
Yeah, I guess so. Where you talked about how Dune was you talked about before how Wicked is a part of a story. Dune is pretty much not quite the final part, but it still wrapped things up from Dune.
I don't think it wrapped things up, though. I think it's still very much open-ended.
But it's so much more meatier than the first one. The first one, I think the first Dune's fine. I think it's very average in my opinion. But the second one's just has so much more story to it that it's way more powerful in its execution.
Yeah. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, we'll move on. All right, the big one, best film. So we have A Complete Unknown, Anora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Doom Part 2, Amelia Perez, Nickel Boys, Sing Sing, The Substance, and Wicked. And the winner is Anora.
In terms of the subset nominees here, I think they are all the same as the Academy Awards, except for Sing Sing, swap that out for I'm Still Here. They're basically the same. It was funny. We had a private conversation before this podcast talking about kind of the best picture odds and who would win. And the conversation about Nora came up being like, it's kind of dead in the water. It's the middle of the pack, and it's not really, highly considered to be Best Picture. And I agreed to that as well. I really didn't think that Nora had any kind of momentum behind it. The narrative changes with this, and Nora, I think, has some momentum behind it now. A massive surprise win that it does, and I'm glad it does, because it stops Amelia Perez from winning.
It does. Man is against Perez. Fair though.
Yeah, no, it is fair. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Nora's win, and I think it does put it a little bit more on the map to hopefully keep some momentum going for it and to potentially be our Best Picture winner. I think Nora is definitely in the game now, alongside The Brutalist. Conclave could be in there. I'm Still Here could be in there. A Complete Unknown continues to surprise.
You're just naming every movie here. So what you're pretty much saying is that
I've stopped
it's
at
still
A Complete
open.
Unknown. I have missed out 5. But we have 5 movies definitely in play.
It's still pretty open. Like pretty much any one of those films could win. Like nothing's really locked. Like you mentioned it before, I think in the last podcast or just privately, that Oppenheimer this time last year was just dominating, and like we just knew it was winning.
It was winning.
This year we have no idea. We have a Nora, which we all wrote off before this even got announced, that comes in, and now we're just like, okay, it's on our radar now. Like potentially it could get there. We still got BAFTAs and the Guild Awards to go to, and that will probably give us a better judge on where things goes.
For
but
sure.
yeah, it's really an open race here.
It is.
For sure.
Yeah. Any other comments in regards to the awards except for how fucked up the Academy is?
No, but it's gonna be interesting as we kind of track this along, especially as we get to our final potties as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, should be good.
8 more to go, people. 8
Yes.
more to go, and that will do us on the 92nd. Let's Be Real podcast. Hope you all enjoyed. Don't bother liking, subscribing, following, whatever, because we won't appreciate it. We'll just be like, why? Why are you doing this? It's coming to an end. But that's us. We're Movie Gains. We'll see you later.
Peace.
Later.